out, windy as hell, so probably not the most ideal weather for a 650 horsepower supercharged short wheelbase car. I'm the co-owner of the Roadster shop of Mundelein, Illinois, and we specialize in high-performance automotive chassis for classic cars, muscle cars, hot rods, trucks, 4x4s, and we also build some pretty trick custom cars. What I'm behind the wheel of right now is a 63 split-window Corvette, quite possibly the most iconic American-made car ever. Beautiful winter day here in Chicago, about 20 degrees out and windy as hell, so probably not the most ideal weather for a 650 horsepower supercharged short wheelbase car, but no salt on the ground yet, hasn't snowed, so great day for a cruise. This car is built on one of our RS Fast Track chassis, independent rear, uses our narrow track front and rear, which probably the best visual appeal of that is that it's often a major complaint with C2 Corvettes, C1 Corvettes, having to run that flush mount style wheel, as people call it. So nobody really wants a wheel with no front lip on it. So narrowing up that track width to about 55 inches both front and rear, we're able to accommodate a fairly shallow backspace wheel and get a little bit of lip on it. Speaking of wheels, this particular car is running a Forgeline RS6 knockoff wheel. Super cool wheel that kind of bridges the gap of a pro touring wheel with a tremendous amount of classic influence. So as you look at this car, you'll notice that it's pretty highly modified 63 Corvette. Modifying a split window Corvette in any way, shape, or form is often considered rather sacrilegious. The purists do not like it. The style of this car, the look, the feel, the function, I think this is a car that's highly modified that really your most die-hard Corvette purists will appreciate, along with any of your pro touring guys, you know, your modern guys that like trick exotics. It just appeals to everybody. You know, the car kind of screams Steve McQueen. I feel like I should be rocking some leather driving gloves as I'm driving this and hanging onto this beautiful wood Nardi steering wheel. Windows are up, car seals up tight, so even though it's freezing cold, it's a nice ride right now. I think overall this car is a real testament to relationships in the industry, working with people who bring a lot to the table and help you elevate your product. Sitting in this car and driving this car, what stands out to me the most, and I've driven quite a few C2s, is that I'm not a big guy, but sitting in a C2 Vet, there's just no space in these cars. Now, Avante Garde out of Stuart, Florida, they put together the upholstery in this car. The rework in the factory seats, kind of coving in these door panels, it makes to where, I mean, I've got my legs stretched out where I'm comfortable enough I can take this car on a road trip. Even somebody that's in excess of 6 feet tall can still jump in this car and comfortably drive it. Outside of the ergonomics, I think the style of this interior is something that was just nailed, which is kind of a combination of RS design work and Avante Garde's execution. So it has a very classic design. It doesn't deviate wildly from what a stock 63 interior would look like at a glance. Now when you dig into it, you'll see that it has some race influence and some classic styling. All the switches are kind of vintage toggle switches with some guards on each one, small little indicator lights, some engraved aluminum panels, kind of a stripped down utilitarian look while still loading it up with trick stitching, beautiful finishes, and just making for an overall just really bitchin' interior. Quite possibly one of my favorite interiors we've done in a hot rod. Driving these cars, it immediately stands out as I'm sitting here speaking. I'm forgetting that I'm really in an old car. This car steers so well, handles so well, drives so well, and I think that's what we really strive drive for, to where you're behind the wheel of a car, but you're not necessarily thinking about that car. It doesn't have any quirks. You know, there's nothing you got to do to nurse it through a corner or nurse it through the gears. Just a super fun car to drive. Coming up here, going through some twisty turns, you know, we'll be relatively kind to it because traction is, yeah, at a minimum here in the 20-degree weather, but this car just effortlessly rips through the corners. And it gets up and goes pretty good. 6-speed T56 Magnum combo. That's a package that we use over and over again, and just such a sweet performance setup. This particular car, because it doesn't have a big block hood like some of the later Vettes do, low profile factory 63 hood. We're running the early Corvette Supercharger lid, a little bit lower profile, so it tucks right underneath that hood. 650 horse and a little lightweight. You know, this car probably weighs in about 3,200 pounds. It's really all you need, and that blower comes on and this thing just scoots. All the instruments in this car were done as one-offs by Dakota Digital. Super awesome, super legible, great illumination. You always know what the car's doing. Kind of a nod to some of the vintage Stewart Warner gauges of that era, with the spun center, blended a little bit with the factory 63 gauges so as not to get too far away from Corvette, but just an overall kick-ass look, really. My name's Jeremy Gerber. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and be sure to follow our YouTube page for lots more killer hot rods coming down the pipeline.
Feel good about it?
Yeah, my outros probably need some work, you know, in the future, but we'll get started somewhere.
I don't want no trouble.